To this
Okay.
point, I'm still considering UDisc the official world rankings. The Pro
Okay,
Tour is still using them. They
I'm
update them
pulling them
most
up.
regularly. What was confusing to me, and this is the thing that I think that the PDGA rankings are going to have over UDisc, is it still confuses me so much how they update. Trying to get to
How the world rankings update for MPO, or sorry
we'll
for
use MPO, but it's the same for both. But
UDisc
for
though.
UDisc, yeah. Where on earth is this thing?
So I put up a poll recently. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, and
How do you get to it in the app? Am I dumb right now?
you have to go to like UDisc Live.
Oh,
That's
you
how
UDisc live and then rankings. Yep.
then you see it. That's how I've always learned. All right, so I did a poll just to kind of gauge kind of what people on Twitter were thinking, and I said, "What's your favorite, statistics or rating system?"
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think I left it open ended like that, so I think some people definitely answered it for like themselves, like what they enjoyed the most for like themselves. And so I think that's why it might be skewed a little bit. I probably should have been a little more direct and said like, what's your favorite ranking system for like the Pro Tour? So I have PDGA rating, UDisc world ranking, PDGA world ranking, and the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. PDGA world ranking was the lowest at 13%. UDisc world ranking was the highest at 39%. And then PDGA ranking came in at 30%, and the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings came in at 18. So
wait, which was the PDGA rating and which was the ranking percentage wise?
the rating was 30, which was just
Just
behind
below the world ranking.
UDisc.
Yeah.
And then the world ranking for the PDGA was the lowest.
Yeah,
at 13.
I think the PDGA world ranking has the most potential. I think they still need to tweak a little bit, but the reason I say that is because it's a lot more tangible on how you move up and down. Because the UDisc ranking seems to be relatively accurate for the most part, but this dominance index, like there's no way to know when a player's playing an event how much their dominance index is just going to fluctuate. And so that's what, like, we were looking at today, and you have a player like Gannon Burr. He jumped up 8 spots with almost winning into 15th place, right?
For UDisc?
Yeah, I'm talking UDisc right now. Because the PDGA, we don't know when it says it's going to update after majors, I think. So UDisc updates after every tournament, which is what they've got going for him. So then Drew jumps up 4 places after a win. Paul doesn't play Vegas, jumps Rick to become the number 1 world ranked without playing, and Rick just drops down. So that's confusing, number 1. Because, like, I guess it's just because Rick lost, but, like, how can someone jump to number 1 in the world without being there? And then as you scroll down, there's also, like, Scott Withers just pops in, new at 28th. Just popped in right there. Like, it just says new. It doesn't say how much he moved up or down. And then here's a fascinating one. What place did you come in at Vegas? Like 38th?
37th, I think.
37th. So you came in 37th, and yet you went down a spot in the world rankings to 79th. With your dominance ranking went up, but you went down. I guess because it must not have went up enough to jump Paul Oman, and then Scott Withers got thrown in at 28th. But that's what I'm saying is, like, I can't tell how accurate this is because I can't tell how they're getting the dominance index. Like, they have this whole article, so you can technically tell, but it's like player 1 beat player 2, so it equals D1 divided by D1 plus D2. Okay. But, like, that doesn't help me. Like, when I'm watching a tournament, I don't know how to plug everyone into that formula and figure out, since Brodie beat this person but lost to this person, D1 plus over D1 plus D2 equals, like, I'm not doing algebra 2 to figure out who's moving where.
I think what StatMando does, where you can, like, compare players, I think that's really cool. Right?
Yeah,
So
you can do that in UDisc too.
Oh yeah, you can you? Mm-hmm. I can select this person.
Yeah, based on their dominance index, you can get the percentage chance of them beating them.
Oh, but StatMando is way better because it literally tells you, like, how many times they've played against each other, who's won more, how many top 10s I think is also on there. So this is what I'll say that's confusing with the UDisc world ranking system is, like, obviously what you kind of just described, some of the issues of, like, that's odd. I think. Do you know how far back this goes to?
No, that's the other thing. Is You
And
have to you have to
how much is weighted on the front end too?
Yeah, that's what you can't find that type of information because like you have to have played a certain amount, but it's somewhere I forget when it was, but at some point they're like, for instance, if Nate Doss was in there, he would be at this spot with a dominance rating of this. But like Nate Doss has been retired for years, so like how does he have that dominance rating? You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very that's the thing I don't like about the UDisc system is they've probably created something incredible, but it's not
But it's hard to
tangible.
understand.
Exactly. Whereas the PDGAs, it's not going to update frequently enough, and they have too much weight on the majors. They split them up. It is what it is. But
So
theirs you can see. You have tangible things of like if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna be at this place in the world. Like you can see what you need to do to move up or down. And as a fan and someone who
yeah.
talks about disc golf, I can more easily see how Ricky's placement is going to affect his world ranking, or so on or so forth. Versus UDisc, I mean, Paul didn't show up and he moves up a spot. Like, is it like
Yeah.
really smart to just not play tournament? Like, Paul didn't play because of the 3 courses, but if I'm someone who if I sucked at
Yeah.
Vegas, is it smart for me not to show up because it's good for my world ranking? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
So this is what, again, I don't really know too much on the math side of things, but the way I would view it is if you played bad at a tournament, you shouldn't fall. You shouldn't get like negative points. It's like, oh, you played bad, you get negative points. So then people that don't show up to the tournament pass you, right? It should be like if you play bad at a tournament and other people around you in the rankings play better than you, then they're probably going to jump you in the rankings. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's weird to think that like if you have a bad tournament, it's weird to think that like you have a bad tournament and someone that wasn't at the tournament passes you in the world rankings. That seems weird to me. And the other thing I would say too is like the Statmando thing I think is really cool of where it's like, okay, it's literally pinning people up to each other. I don't know how important that really is in the world rankings. And again, I think it makes it way more confusing as far as like, okay, if I finish 5th, for example, but these people beat me, that's different than if I finish 5th and then this one person beat. Like, it's hard because, again, like you said, it's not an easy equation where, to me, like the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, it might not be the best way of doing it, but at least it's very, very simple to see like, okay, I'm in first place with the standings and I have 50 points more than second place. So then you can start doing a lot of these scenarios, right? Where it's like, all right, if this person, if Ricky, let's say Ricky was in first place, you can do a scenario where it's like, all right, if Ricky gets top 5, the only way he drops out of first place is if this person wins. Like you can do all those because you know the points.
Yeah.
This thing is so dependent on like who beats who, but then that person beat this person, so then they're gonna jump. Like that's where it's like how did Ricky got what, 7th place in the last event?
Yeah. So his dominance went down. That's people I think people were confused.
He lost 6.82 points.
Yeah. When I said like how can Paul become number 1? I understand physically how it happened. Like I know Ricky lost dominance index. My thing is you shouldn't be able to not play. It's more so just for first place, for number 1 world ranking. Because if we're talking about 30th place and like someone becomes went from 31st to 30th, or like that is what it is. But my thing is like this shouldn't be something because like now what if Paul, this isn't going to happen, but what if Paul just parked the bus? It's just like, hey, I'm not playing tournaments this year. His dominance rating will never move.
The only way Ricky could beat him is if Ricky just started winning everything.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like that doesn't make sense because then like
Ricky would have to win.
Yeah, but if someone just parks the bus at this and then like and their number 1 world ranking and their dominance index isn't going to change, then like people are going to constantly like be jumping and changing, and Paul will be like world rank number 1, and then as soon as Ricky loses, as soon as Ricky wins, Paul's world rank number 2, and now he's back to world rank number 1. And it's like, this guy's not playing right now. Like that shouldn't directly correlate. Like, you shouldn't be able to gain and become the number 1 ranked player in the world without showing up and playing. And that's where I think the flaw is with UDisc, that the PDGA system at least wouldn't have, but the PDGA system flaws is numerous other ones, but number 1 right now is it's not frequently updated.
This isn't per round, is it? It's
per event.
This is like per event.
It's where you finish. So essentially, super dumbed down, how I understand it.
You know,
is
wait,
it's
let me
basically
tell you something that's really interesting, real quick. There are only, I think if I saw this right, there are only like one or two guys that dropped more spots than Ricky did.
But
and I don't.
It's
Ricky
because
had a bad turn.
No, but it's because who beat him. Tristan Tanner, one of the biggest ones. Look at how far Tristan Tanner's dominance index went up. That's the thing. It's all about who beat you at the tournament that affects the UDisc ranking. That's all that matters.
Yeah, so that's where. So this is where it's crazy to me. Is like
Ricky finished top 10 at a Pro Tour, but he got absolutely destroyed in the world ranking because of who beat him.
So let me give you this scenario. Okay.
Yeah.
Jared Stoll. Okay, Jared Stoll is the last guy on this world ranking list at 162.
Okay.
Okay. Jared Stoll is playing Waco.
Yeah.
Okay. He balls out of control and plays out of his mind and gets 9th place.
Yeah.
5 shots out of the lead.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Adam Hammies gets 10th place.
Yeah.
6 shots out of the lead. Adam Hammies then proceeds. And let's just say Drew, Kyle, Chris, Calvin, Eagle, Ricky, Paul, all people above Adam, all beat Jared, right? They all get in front of Jared, but they're only beating by a stroke or 2 or whatever. It's real close, right?
Yeah.
Adam Hammies is just gonna plummet.
Yeah, he'd get wrecked. Now I don't know how far he'd get wrecked, but he'd get destroyed. And he finished top 10 at a Pro Tour in your scenario you just painted, and he might drop 15, 20 spots. Like who knows what would happen?
And that's the thing is like he only Drew for, let's say in this scenario, Drew only beat Adam by 2 shots.
Yeah, that's where the issue is with the current.
Drew maintains world ranking at 7, and Adam Hammies just flies down the rankings.
Yeah, but that's that issue is like I think the UDisc ranking is the best thing we have currently because it's what's updated frequently. And it's a better system than the actual rating system because the rating system is you can go win a C tier and your rating get tanked even though you won the C tier. Like at least with the ELO rating, that's not going to change that because it's basically just if you show up and you beat everyone, your ELO rating, your dominance factor is only going to go up. It's not going to go down if you win. But your rating, you could win and have your rating go down. Like that could happen. And that's where you can't use the rating to tell who's the best player in the world. The ELO ranking is the best thing we have currently, but it's not great.
My boy is still alive as the 6th best player in the world based off of PDGA rating. He's still in there at 1044.
Who's that?
This local guy in Dallas, Texas that played 1 flex start and shot 1044.
Exactly. Like that. I don't think I don't. If you take a step back,
best player in the world.
If you take a step back and just look at the ratings, you can understand why it's like the reason I think that I personally am so against the rating isn't because it's not a good analytic stat. Like within the round, but it even isn't, to be honest with you, because like you can just look. It only matters within that tournament, and it doesn't super well correlate from tournament to tournament because it's all based on the field that's there. And within the tournament, if you want to see if it's a good round, just look at what they shot compared to the rest of the field. Like that tells you the same thing. It's just, but it's at least like it's a fun number that you can like pull out and be like, oh, what's your rating? Whatever.
Great for amateurs. For amateurs.
It's a fun number. The issue is for so long it's been treated as so much more than just a fun number, and that's why I'm so against it. Is like if we just use it as a fun number and like, hey, holy cow, did you see that round was like 11:08 that Paul shot at Memorial? Like that's just a fun stat. Issue is you can't share that stat without it immediately being taken as a much bigger analytic than it is. because like I said, the field
Yeah,
affects.
but stats you should be able to understand.
True.
Right?
That's
And,
also
like,
true. You can't understand.
that
You can kind of understand the ratings, but not really.
and it's almost kind of like this is a good analogy. Is like you're like Paul shot at 11:08, right? If I told you, so you're like, dude, did you see Paul? He balled out of control. He shot 11:08. What if I told you like, who's Duke's best basketball player?
Well, right now we all suck. Ben
You know,
Caro.
okay, Ben Caro. If I was like, dude, did you see Ben's last game? He scored
His first
70
name's Pablo.
points.
His last name's Bancaro, but it's fine.
Oh, his first. Okay. If I was like, dude, did you see Pablo's last game? He balled out of control. He scored 70 points. And you're like, what? He's insane. But I didn't tell you that there were 6 overtimes.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're missing this.
You're
the
missing
statistic
context.
needs more context. So in the 11:08, for example, if the context was, yeah, but there also were a bunch of like low-rated guys that just throw a bunch of discs in the water and they basically jack up the ratings at Memorial. If that context was then thrown in, then you could be like, oh, okay, I can understand. But like when there isn't like this, when the statistics on that course are different than this course and different than that and different, like that's where it gets difficult if you don't have context. So
no, exactly. But that's why my whole issue with ratings is that for so long, and I think that it's kind of died off. A lot of it was thanks to the UDisc World Rankings. It was what was used to determine like the number 1 player in the world, and like that's what was posted. It's like Ricky Jumps, the number 1 rated player in the world, or Paul Jumps, the number 1 rated player in the world. But like the context is like, oh, like this literally happened at one point. Oh, Paul dropped out a number 1 rated player in the world because he played a weekly league at Huntington Beach. Like why on earth does that shouldn't affect anything? Because like he won the week he showed up, but like the ratings there are awful because it's just a weekly league. If you haven't played in a weekly league and try to tell me that the ratings are always the same, like you won't because they suck.